I want to bring in NBC's Vaughn Hillyard covering the White House. Stuart Stevens is senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. He helped lead Mitt Romney's 2012 campaign and is author of the book, It Was All a Lie. Donna Edwards is a former Democratic congresswoman from Maryland and an MSNBC political analyst. Stuart, how seriously should we take the president when he responds to a question about upholding the Constitution by saying, I don't know? Is that just, I don't know, messaging? Is it something more?
Listen, we have the president, it's exactly what you said. We have the president of the United States saying that he's not sure that he's going to uphold the Constitution, which, by the way, he took an oath, put his hand on the Bible, and swore that he would uphold. That is the major job of the president of the United States. So, I think if we get conditioned that we just sort of say, well, that's just Trump, I think that's dumbing down what deviancy, as Monahan said. We just can't accept that. We have to take it seriously. And we see that his actions are. He says he wants to deport the homegrown. He's already deported American citizens, tried to deport American citizens. He's kind of disappeared them. This is very serious. And there's this sort of human instinct not to see it as that serious because we want to go about our business. But we don't have the luxury of that because we don't have a president who believes that he is elected to uphold the Constitution.
He obviously doesn't believe there's a downside to this, Congresswoman. So now that Democrats literally have him on tape, right, questioning the constitutional process and in particular in deportation cases, what do they do with it?
Well, look, I think it's actually important to replay this point over. Of all the things in that interview, that was those comments were the most troubling. The president reviews a constitutional guarantee of due process as an inconvenience because people would be held to would be entitled to a trial. I think that this is really a scary moment. He's already demonstrated his willingness to disobey court orders, to delay implementing court orders, a complete disregard of the rule of law. And we can't, I think as Stuart says, we can't just sort of pass over this and go, oh, that's Trump being Trump. It's really imperative for Democrats to help the American people understand that this president has no regard for rule of law, doesn't care about the Constitution if it's inconvenient for him, and would easily trample on the rights not just of immigrants, but the rights of U.S. citizens. So I think this is a scary moment, and it's a wake-up call not to just let this pass by.
He's gotten so much pushback, Vaughn, about El Salvador. Now he seems to want to put at least some of the worst, as he likes to call them, at Alcatraz. I mean, is that real? Is he just spitballing? Do we know?
Right. The top line of this is that the president wants to detain and incarcerate and or deport more individuals than currently the U.S. federal prison system has the capacity to fulfill. That is why we saw him sign and invoke the Alien Enemies Act in order to more swiftly send undocumented individuals outside of the United States. And yet we know, based off of our own reporting at NBC News over the year, that the federal prison system through the Bureau of Prisons continues to face staffing shortages, particularly of guards. We have been out to the Florence Correctional Facility, one of the 17 Supermax facilities out in Colorado, for instance, where they continue to face an overwhelming number of inmates to guards that are able to effectively oversee these facilities. And yet what you're hearing from the president and his desire to open up a new facility on Alcatraz, the specifics of it are not clear, and the White House has not provided any details about how they would fund or effectively rebuild this facility that closed down more than 60 years ago. But here was the president talking about it last night.
Do you know you can make your own rap album only with 3 words? With Donna AI, it's easier than ever. Just type.
Before we get to the this video of Donald Trump saying that he's going to open Alcatraz, he cannot just reopen a tourist sighting. He cannot just open a tourist sighting. And here's why, ladies and gentlemen, because the President of the United States does not have that authority. He doesn't. So I'd like to see him try. Let's get into this reporting, or this video clip by them of Trump saying this ridiculous BS.
You random words and watch the Donna magic.
I apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I'm able to get past this particular ad.
Get ready to shine and create your masterpiece today.
My cruel stepmother burned my face with acid, erasing my beauty so the world would worship her daughter.
So many of these radicalized judges, they want to have trials for every single thing of it. Every single person that's in our country illegally, that came in illegally, that would mean millions of trials, and it's just so ridiculous what's happening. And it's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, you know, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order.
Now, of course, we heard.
Plainly ridiculous. Plainly ridiculous right there. Whatever the symbol is. Are you kidding me? You do not know what the symbol of Alcatraz is? Pathetic. That shows right there, Donald Trump, that you are uneducated. Let's continue with this pathetic piece of shit. With this pathetic piece of shit's video.
Heard him rebuff the idea of potentially due process for undocumented individuals in the country. His own Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, here just today in a social media post, suggested that undocumented individuals are not guaranteed due process in the Constitution. It's very explicit that due process is guaranteed for all persons. It doesn't say citizens specifically here, but what you have is the president seeking to detain and incarcerate or deport more individuals than what the system currently allows for, and at the pace that he does not desire.
And Donna, if you go back to when they closed Alcatraz back in 1963, there were two main reasons. One, it was falling apart and it was going to cost an awful lot of money in dollars at that time to repair it. And number two, it was really expensive to run. They had to fly everything in there. They had to fly in food, even drinkable water. You have to get staff in and off of it, right? So there's no clear idea, as Vaughn points out, how much this might cost. So even if it was a serious proposal, how do you make that proposal at a time when what you're saying to America is, I'm going to save you money?
Well, look, I mean, the President of the United States, one.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, before we even do get to the rest of this reporting by them, I don't foresee this happening. I foresee this as another pathetic bullcrap lie of Donald Trump. Just like he's promised all these other things in the campaign trail, that he's not going to deport U.S. citizens. He's going to always abide by the Constitution and abide by the court orders and the mandates and all this other stuff, and he's not doing it. He's not doing it, ladies and gentlemen, so it'll be frankly quite interesting and frankly just overall quite interesting to see if he actually decides, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, if he actually decides to go through with this unlawfully. Let's get back into the reporting.
Doesn't consider the cost, but he thinks it's actually more important for Americans to pay 140% more on consumer goods than it is to put that into the cost of running an Alcatraz. Alcatraz was incredibly expensive, not just the maintenance that needed to bring it up to scale in the 21st century, but the ongoing maintenance as a facility. It only ever housed about 300 persons there anyway. And so it's just not workable. And I don't think it's a serious proposal. I think it's another one of these things where the rest of us were doing something on Sunday evening and the President of the United States was consumed by Alcatraz. So it doesn't make sense financially. It is not workable as a prison facility. And the worst of the worst, frankly, are housed in our state prisons and not in the federal system. So this is really not a serious proposal at all.
So what it does bring up, though, Stuart, because when the president brought up this idea of reopening Alcatraz, he said basically the same thing he said to Kristen Welker about people facing deportation, which is that there's no way you can give all these people a hearing. There's no way he clearly thinks that the worst of the worst.
That is a flat-out lie, ladies and gentlemen. Plus, he's full of it, and he's just pulling your legs. He's just pulling your legs and spewing out more lies. That's all Donald Trump is pure lies. Let's continue with the last portion of the reporting. Shout out to MSNBC and their work. I applaud them. I applaud them for their work. I really do. And I'm not just saying that to be an ass or to downgrade them or belittle them. I am truly sincere. Again, shout out to MSNBC.
Worse should necessarily have to go through due process. So not a political issue, but a practical issue. Is that message going to fly among even Republicans?
Well, look, let me just point out that Escape from Alcatraz was playing on television where Trump was this weekend. And it's clearly what happened is this guy saw Escape from Alcatraz and then grabbed his phone and started tweeting, we ought to reopen Alcatraz. I mean, next time we're having a big issue with Ukraine, we should show Red Dawn with the Russians invading Colorado, and he'll probably give the Ukrainian nuclear weapons. He treats the Constitution as sort of like a course that he's taken, and he can just skip certain classes, and it doesn't matter. This is just nutty, and it's very, very dangerous. And you know what really breaks my heart? As a guy who helped elect a lot of these people who are up there, why is it that no Republican senators are speaking out for the Constitution? If there was one conservative idea, it was to protect the Constitution and to try to follow the Constitution. And that has just been thrown out the window. The Republican Party's become this sort of radical movement that has no coherent governing philosophy, and this is where you end up.
Well, what Donna, he promised was mass deportations, right? And that hasn't happened. We did see, for example, 1,100 people picked up in Florida as part of an operation at the end of April. But this has not been the kind of nationwide headlines that I think the White House suggested that there might be. Is that why we're hearing all this tough talk, put him in Alcatraz, sort of in lieu of results?
Well, I mean, I think, everybody knows that this proposal, or at least people who are sane, know that the proposal to gather up so-called illegal immigrants and deport them was always a harebrained scheme. And so now he has to invent another reason to be. Now, I'm the law and order president when he doesn't have anything else to show for it. Unfortunately, American citizens, people who are here legally, people who are not gang members, are being swept up in Mr. Trump's craziness.
Craziness and illegal activity and unconstitutional and unlawful and wrongful activity, that is. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be quite interesting how many more lies. I've honestly lost count and lost track of the bullcrap lies that Donald Trump has said within this second unconstitutional, illegal second term and tenure and presidency. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to follow along for more of this devastating, illegal presidency. That is going to do it for the reporting, ladies and gentlemen. If you did enjoy this reporting, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy, firstly. Secondly, if you would like to stay up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting-wise on the side of politics, please follow me on my social medias down below. I am on Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, as well as TikTok. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys would also like to stay up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please as well hit the bell icon that is right next to the subscribe button down below. It does not cost anything, and hit the bell notification, the all notifications option. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the goal of 160 plus subscribers. The reason why I'm saying 160 plus subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 160 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 160 subscribers. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, please stay safe. Please stay positive, even though I know it's hard for some of you guys to stay positive during these dark-induced illegal times by the Trump illegal administration and illegal regime. And I mean, it's even hard for me at times to stay positive during these unfortunate times. But please know that justice will prevail eventually on the correct side of the law, despite Donald Trump and his illegal, unconstitutional regime and administration's executive orders, illegal executive orders at that, actions and illegal behaviors. And until my next reporting, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you guys in the next reporting.